Unmute,
Paul,
Paul.
you're muted.
All right, let's go back and try again.
Okay.
Now then, hopefully, the slideshow. Now, hopefully, we have Rainbow Eagle's picture before you.
Nope, not yet. You're not sharing screen. Okay, there we are.
No? Okay. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the ongoing Monday evening series of Book of Mormon Perspectives in a forum that is open to anyone that wants to join in and share with us. We have rather a remarkable diversity of vantage points, perspectives that are shared. And this evening, we're going to be sharing with Rainbow Eagle, and I'm going to be pulling some pictures from the recent trip that David and I made to Poverty Point. But let's introduce Rainbow Eagle first, because this old guy let's see, he was born in 1942, 80 some years old, is still one of our most vital and dynamic presenters. And so he's agreed to share from his Choctaw perspective to help us with understanding what happened in the prehistory of Poverty Point. His book, A Walk in the Woods, encapsulates the wisdom he has gained and preserved from the elders of indigenous peoples from around the world, some 40 countries that he has made contact with. And those elders speak of a coming time of healing of the sacred hoop, where the people will learn to live harmoniously together. What a neat idea. If the native peoples are prophesying that we should be able to learn to live harmoniously together, that is an intellectually that I would really like to help bring about. In his vision quest, Rainbow Eagle was guided to go listen to the elders, to share ceremonies, and be a teacher. And so we gain the benefit of his response to that guidance this evening, as he shares what he's learned from early elders, from and other belief systems. And of course, we're going to incorporate his native intuition as he shares Poverty Point, the oldest planned community in North America. And so I'm delighted to welcome Rainbow Eagle, my brother. Let's see if I can make the slide work. Whoop, it doesn't want to move. There, we finally got it. And so let us invoke the Great Spirit together. Awesome planner, creator, spirit exuding from the heavens, the stones, the rivers, the trees, the four-legged and the creatures of the sea. We raise our voices in praise to you for the awesome variety of what you have made, for the vastness beyond the stars, the sunsets, the flowers, and the birds in all their marvelous beauty. And we thank you for life, the fresh air to breathe, the sensation of it rippling over our skin, to remember that we do not have to see it to believe. For as we believe in breath, the fresh air upon which we depend, we believe in truth, the fundamental laws of nature you put in place, and which only through your marvelous power can anything transcend. We believe in love, for you show its redeeming power through the seasons, and we believe in life, lived to the fullness, with your special invitation transcending all mortal reasons. And as we gather this evening on Zoom to examine the evidence of life patterns beyond what our best reasoning and evolutionary thinking can anoint, we ask you to help us appreciate the planned community of hunters and collectors at Poverty Point. Bless Rainbow Eagle in his presentation, that through his cultural eyes we too can see more clearly what the story of our past in this land of the great turtle has been, and with the healing of the sacred hoop can be. We pray in the name of your physical expression in all that and in all of that which is holy, especially Jesus the Christ, the Prince of Peace. Amen. All right, Rainbow Eagle, I would let you determine whether you want to allow interruptions or you want to wait to have people wait to interrupt you with their questions and comments until after you presented. And so, but in either case, the floor is yours. And thank you so much for coming.
Okay, well, I don't get a chance to always get on with everybody. I kind of miss being able to come into relationship with you all. So thank you for making time for this. I'm going to go ahead and get hopefully share screen here for my little helper PowerPoint guy. Okay, I'm looking here to see if it's going to make its way to you all.
We can see it.
Okay, so we're good for going, huh?
Yes.
All right. Well, my heart is kind of speaking here, having to do with the fact that I really believe that this land, this side of Mother Earth, holds some dynamics that is really important, especially now. And that is that there is, I believe, a spirit of this part of Mother Earth of a memory of gathering, a memory of being able to see our differences and our diversity, and yet being able to come into relationship and into a gathering time. I have spoken at other times about the various places, particularly of North America, where there is, I believe, a residing spirit that calls people to come from wherever they're at into a fellowship, into a gathering spirit. And certainly, as you have a sense of various important places, that is something I think that this, especially North America, maybe Central America, holds that promise of a time will come again when people will come together and be together. I uh, look forward to offering this particular presentation because, as Paul has said, it really appears to be something very, very ancient. But not only that, as I have reviewed this subject now, it's like the world's first hunter-gatherer city, not just a coming together and being, but also having time with each other, and as it's called, a city. And so that's some of the information that is kind of interesting as we think of that part of the Mississippi River that is certainly a roadway to a lot of places, certainly Central America there. And notice there, hunter-gatherers built effectively a city with massive intrastructure. And tonight, unlike what that name is, because you'll kind of find out from the presentation that some guy felt like it was something of a, oh, it's terrible that people have to live there. They must be kind of in poverty state. Anyway, it got that name, and that's okay because it's the recovery of why this was put together for us today. Okay, so it has some of those themes that I think, first of all, indicates that as human beings, we are, I believe, holding some common aspects of our character that goes way, way back into various bloodlines, various situations and environments. And that whatever tribe or whatever location that we are from, there is, I believe, that a creator, that hostility, that God aspect of us that want to come into a relationship uh, uh, on time. Sometimes we call that worship. So here's some notes. I'm putting these first so that you'll be able to recognize that whenever we get on into the presentation. As you can imagine, being near the mouth of the Mississippi River, there was extensive trade routes, obviously, of that was useful for the people in this poverty point place. And as you notice, it now has been declared a World Heritage Site, which means it's being recognized around the world as something significant, let's say. Notice now, these people must have had a strong purpose and a need for community and reasons to come together. There were items that were brought from far away, and I think there was an extensive tribal friendships that were made. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to have those items freely brought to this place. What spiritual purpose did they have to build such complexes? Was it done so that they would be available for us today? They were planned projects by a large workforce. Hold that one now. That means a lot of energy and a lot of motivation by a large workforce to make what you're seeing there in the picture a very ground, dirt made structure there. And was it not only a gathering place, but it would seem to me be a reason to have ceremonies? So that's a question. Were they ceremonial centers? And so we can generalize, say that there surely was complex societies existing before written history. But in some areas, life was mostly in villages during the hunter-gatherer times. Yet they built something for us to wonder about. So I really feel like there was a strong effort, or maybe a feeling that whatever took place there had a futuristic meaning to that. And I like some of the fact that, well, there's a lot of possibility about how is it that all of the some 500 Indian nations could come from their uniqueness and their diversity to a particular place. Again, I believe North America holds maybe a long time promise of that which is suggested with a lot of study there. Because Poverty Point earthworks, there must have been a lot of friendships made because they have found some things there brought from a distance. Like there's a lump of galena stone in the one of the cases. I've kind of grabbed up some of these things, and that stuff was imported from up to like 1,000 miles away. No, there has to be some reason why a particular place held not only prominence but ancientness, but also a kind of a welcome energy there. So I looked up what galena is. This resource says it's a stone of harmony. It brings in balance in all levels while harmonizing, notice the physical, harmonizing the ethereal and spiritual planes. Interesting how that particular spirit of a stone is a little bit like how we've got started here. This stone is grounding, aiding in anchoring and centering. It also helps open our minds to new thoughts. Hopefully, that might be something that will be beneficial tonight. And also helping to dissolve self imposed limitations and focusing our thoughts, our thought processes here. So I'm just suggesting that this is unique. It's unlike what you find in the European system, where those separateness places and villages weren't necessarily ones that would take time out to come into. There were festivals, but to come into kind of a spiritual phenomenon. And as Brother Paul mentioned, yes, it's been my joy to come into relationship with a number of tribal people and how that they have assisted me in being the kind of teacher that the vision given to me by the Creator, Hospitality, has laid in my lap. And notice my little note there I've picked up from the beginning. These people must have had a strong purpose and a need, you see, for what we call community and some reasons to feel like they want to come together for a period of time. So let's look at this ancient Mounds Trail property point, and look at some of the notes. Notice they're um, older than any other earthworks of this size in the total Western Hemisphere. That's speaking pretty broadly there. And it dates back to something like 3,500 years ago, which you see if you take out the 2000, uh, then you're looking at easily as the deal says, built about 1500 BC. Okay. Another note here is that with all of the effort that we're going to find out, the inhabitants who built the site abandoned the area more than 3,300 years or 1300 BC. One would wonder, did they have a sense that because of the Mediterranean Sea Highway, that life was going to be changing and they needed to somehow go back into their village life? One would have to wonder about that. I've also flagged how the Poverty Point earthworks supposed to look like. And it was a very large plaza and some suggestion that if you're going to come together, then there is a reason for pulling us together into a relationship there. And so that there was some descriptions of how big that plaza was. I have a bit of a video as a part of kind of adding to our education here. So we'll get that underway now.
Deep in northeastern Louisiana lies a mystery, Poverty Point. Built over 3,000 years ago, it stands as one of North America's most intriguing ancient sites. Imagine a time before modern cities when this place was a bustling center. Its secrets are still being uncovered by scientists today. Poverty Point was constructed between 1700 and 1100 BCE, long before the pyramids or the Great Wall. The people who built it had no modern tools, yet their skill and ingenuity are clear. This site is a window into a lost world, recognized globally as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. That status protects it for future generations and places it alongside humanity's greatest achievements. The name Poverty Point comes from a 19th century plantation, but the site itself is far older. Its true name is lost, but its importance endures. The ancient builders were rich in vision and skill, creating a masterpiece of engineering. Louisiana is proud to have this treasure, a jewel of ancient history. Poverty Point's story is one of resilience and creativity. It stands as a testament to a complex, vibrant culture. The earthworks here are unlike any other in North America. Their purpose and meaning continue to spark curiosity. Each discovery at Poverty Point adds a new chapter to our understanding of the past. This site challenges what we thought we knew about ancient America. Its legacy shines brightly, inviting us to explore and learn. Poverty Point is not just a relic, it's a living link to our shared human story. The enigma of Poverty Point continues to inspire wonder. The builders of Poverty Point were hunter-gatherers, not farmers. They hunted, fished, and gathered wild foods, yet they built something monumental. Most ancient sites of this scale were created by farming societies, but not here. Without metal tools, wheels, or draft animals, they moved millions of cubic feet of earth by hand. Their tools were made of stone, wood, and bone. The sheer scale of their work is astonishing. Over 900 acres shaped into a complex of earthworks. This required incredible organization and cooperation. The site's size suggests either a large population or generations of effort. Poverty Point was a major center of activity, planned with precision and care. The engineering skills on display are remarkable. The layout is deliberate, not random, evidence of a planned community or ceremonial center. These people worked together, driven by shared purpose. They achieved all this without the advantages of agriculture. Their strength and knowledge were their greatest tools. The earthworks have lasted for millennia, a testament to their abilities. Poverty Point stands as a monument to what hunter-gatherers could accomplish. It challenges our assumptions about ancient societies. The builders' legacy is written in the land itself. Their achievement remains one of the great wonders of prehistoric North America. Poverty Point's story is one of ingenuity and determination. The entire site feels planned, not accidental. Its uniqueness sets it apart from any other known site. The creativity and vision of its builders are evident in every feature. Poverty Point's grand design speaks of a culture that valued order and community. The site's orientation and layout may hold deeper meanings yet to be discovered. Each structure adds to the mystery and significance of the place. The earthworks endure as a testament to ancient ingenuity. Poverty Point's landscape invites us to imagine life in a lost world. Its design continues to captivate and inspire. Who were the people of Poverty Point? They were Native Americans, deeply connected to the land. Skilled hunters, fishers, and gatherers, they thrived in Louisiana's rich environment. Building Poverty Point required a large, organized workforce and strong leadership. The construction was a collective effort, possibly completed in a single generation or over centuries. Their dedication is clear. They moved tons of soil by hand, basket by basket. Despite not being farmers, they supported a large workforce, suggesting the land was abundant or their methods efficient. Cooperation and shared vision were key to their success. The social structure was complex, with leaders directing labor and others performing the work. Some may have traveled from afar to help, gathering for special occasions. Poverty Point reveals their ability to organize and achieve the extraordinary. Their achievements shaped the landscape and left a lasting legacy. The people of Poverty Point remind us of the power of community and purpose. Why was Poverty Point built? Its design suggests a deeper purpose. Many believe it was a ceremonial center, hosting religious and social gatherings. The vast plaza supports this idea, providing space for large events. Some researchers see astronomical alignments in the site's layout, perhaps marking solstices or equinoxes. Ancient cultures often watched the sky, tracking seasons and weaving the cosmos into their beliefs. Mound A's bird-like shape may have held spiritual meaning. The C-shaped ridges could reflect their worldview or serve practical needs. Without written records, we rely on clues in the earth and native traditions. Poverty Point is key to understanding North America's ancient history. It proves that complex societies existed long before written history. The site challenges old ideas about hunter-gatherers. Its recognition as a National Historic Landmark and UNESCO site highlights its global value. Archaeologists continue to study Poverty Point, uncovering new secrets. This ancient wonder inspires us to imagine, explore, and learn. Poverty Point remains a treasure for all, echoing the achievements of a remarkable people.
How often we go around America not realizing that there is something significant that, if it's not pointed out, we just kind of pass by it. Now, something has been mentioned about my heritage bloodline for this lifetime is generally known as Choctaw. Our old name is Okla, and so we often now use the word Okla Choctaw to identify our particular tribalism. And Poverty Point, you see, is certainly located on the waterways. Likewise, it was important for a lot of village life to be near waterways. That was very useful. And if there is something that's going to be hopeful to be seen in the future, the waterways had the potential of being able to not pass it by, but look at it. Now look at this slide, and you'll begin to see the extent of a significant mound there. Tons of dirt, roughly, wow, 390,000 tons of dirt to create this single mound. 15.5 million basket loads of dirt carried on the backs of thousands of people. Uh, Throughout America, there's a number of presentations of making use of Mother Earth, the dirt, unlike what you find in Central America, where you have the use of stone. Uh, yet, if you make it big enough, then hopefully it will continue into the future for some reason. Uh, just a little bit of a note here that when I became aware of some of the Okla Choctaw tradition, I noticed that the women were in their traditional attire, had what we would kind of see as an apron, or certainly a cloth that would remind you of an apron. I had to kind of work with that a little bit because yeah, that sounds kind of European, when actually that apron was useful in transporting dirt. They, the women would and the girls would go quite a distance and load up, instead of the baskets that you're seeing here. They would bring the dirt in their cloth uh, pieces there. That's a little bit of a sideline there. Here is what is presently there and what can be seen, as you see on the right side, and quite a way up to the top. And it is not indicating any kind of a special place for, a significant ceremonial people, as it's suggested with some other places there. It was to get to, in some kind of symbolic way, perhaps a higher plane. And as you can see, that's what is left now of that mound there. Also about the shape that you see there. Uh, some of you probably, when you were a kid, you wanted to make a circle, and so you had a stick and you had a string, and you kind of made a circle out of that. And this is so big, you have to wonder how in the world did they have the accuracy of not only the walkways, but certainly the high places there that facilitated housing there, as you can see in the note. This is a meaningful place. It is a place that is part of a revelation, and you don't come back and do anything there because you're supposed you're keeping it curated. I grabbed some of these things from other videos. You're keeping it empty because it's holy ground. And as the note there is that on these ridges were the places where the homes were placed. Homes of 500 to 1,000 inhabitants were located on these ridges. So at the present time, you can see where that mound is still pretty prominent there. And another note there, likely the single greatest monument created by hunter-gatherers, notice this, in the world. That's a pretty strong statement there. And here's another picture of what can be put together now. The site has returned over 8,000 intact spearheads and countless stone artifacts, despite the fact that there are no natural stone for miles around. And geological analysis has shown that some of these raw materials have traveled hundreds of miles to get there, which is very impressive. And even more so when you consider that this was built by a hunter-gatherer society 3.5 millennia ago. Interesting facts. Here is something that is not at all appreciated because lots of times it's not pointed out. I'm glad we have that tonight there. Notice my little picture there because obviously there's going to be a need for uh, resources. So this area is also significant because it marks one of the largest and permanent communities of hunters and gatherers, which are mostly known to be nomadic artifacts left behind, including tools such as arrowheads, polished stone weights attached to fishing nets, and clay briquettes used for cooking. So it is implying that there was a length of time, instead of just coming and being, a length of time that people stayed there. Here's another fact whenever you think about all the diversity and the tribalism there is that people of Poverty Point uh, acquired stones from the Ozarks and the Appalachian, which means they somehow were able to have relationships among a lot of tribal people and enough relationship for things to be shared as well as things to be brought into a central location as it's implied here. And there's that note about a big lump of galena is the one of the in one of the cases there, and it came like 1,000 miles away. And the note there again, mountains and even copper from the Great Lakes, some 4,500 miles away. So that's just implying that it's one thing to have a significant something to put together, but evidently it has some kind of broad meaning that extended way into a good part of Central America there. Now, this is a little bit toward the end of my presentation because you're going to hear it kind of a theme of what people people want people to come. And so it's kind of promoting this place. And so this came from a video. If you want to see a place in the United States of America, in Northeast Louisiana, that was around before the war, even before there were Mayas, there were Louisianans, of course, that's there. But come to see a place where civilization flourishes in the Native American kind of thinking, even as you try your best to do and to put things together, you always, probably not intentionally, but you'll make what some people call a mistake. And there it is. Okay, I hadn't really caught that until tonight. All right. And 3,500 years ago and remains alive today for people to experience. So you can kind of see the promo for this. Notice the note here about the Clovis arrowhead, because if the Clovis were here, we're now, you see, talking about between 10 to 14,000 years ago. Okay, all of that is I think, a incredible look at this earthworks there. And we finish this by emphasizing once again, there must have been something important for this to be put together with all of the effort that was put in there. We've looked at extensive trade routes. Certainly the waterways would help with that. These people must have had a strong purpose and a need for community. I think there's something in our DNA, if that's the right terminology, that somehow pulls us into the need and the joy and the fun of being able to have people come together in a gathering thing. Items were brought from far away, as has been mentioned. I've put this particularly extensive tribal friendships as did take place. Usually in village life, you don't really get out and about much. And so there had to be some effort, even though for village people, to extend their acquaintances far beyond village life. What spiritual purpose did they have to build such a complex? Was it done for us to be available today? Was it truly a ceremonial center? And that is something significant to be considered for me and those who I mentor and help in a ceremonial way. Notice there's, even before the written history, there was a very extensive, complex societies. And they surely had a reason. Well, here's the last aspect of what we're looking at, even though this is declared as a unique experience of the hunter-gatherer of the world, there are other earthworks that show a need for community gatherings long ago. Cahokia Mound near St. Louis, the Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, and Ohio holds extensive earthworks, as it's called, that can really be appreciated more if you're up in the sky in an airplane. And most people know about the Ohio Circle Mound, which is a ceremonial area, and then the Serpent Mound, that is the largest snake mound in the world. Okay, so that's my contribution for whatever. I feel like in some ways I'm kind of speaking for those that had a reason to extend something important to be with us tonight. Okay? All right, Paul, you're on.
Okay, thank you, Rainbow Eagle. I hopefully have the slide share working, and I'm not sure that my slides are actually showing what I wanted to see, but I'm beginning here with the natural arch. And doing that as a disruption here because my brother David and I made the trip to Chesapeake for a church and family reunion in August. And that was an awesome experience by itself because, for one thing, David got to present his rather remarkable presentation on becoming a prophetic people and got a hug from Stacy Cram in the process. On the way back home, then we at about 9 o'clock one morning stopped at the Natural Bridge, and the Natural Bridge is in Western Virginia. It's up in the mountains, and the site was closed until 10, and we got there at 9. And so we were about to leave, and I saw a gentleman wearing a uniform, and I told him, I got this old man here that 88 years old that would like very much to be able to see the bridge. And well, he said, oh, no problem, just follow this one-way road down to the house, and you'll be within 100 yards of it. And so we followed that road down 100 yards, and whoop, here I hit the button. The slide is supposed to show David at the bottom, but for some reason, well, you can see the arch up there. It's 200 feet from the arch down to the stream, where the stream has eaten through the limestone. There originally was a cave here, and the portions on both sides of that arch have fallen in, been washed or carried away. There's still a roadway across the top of that arch. It's just phenomenal natural development, and so to be able to appreciate that arch and to see that here's this quiet stream chewing away on the limestone below. It's done that to eat 22 feet through the limestone from when that arch was small. Here's a picture of see David in context there. Um, but anyway, that was such a phenomenal point we got to visit on that end of the on that sandwich side of the sandwich, and then we drove across Tennessee and well finished Virginia, Tennessee, Georgia, um, Mississippi, and Alabama, and finally got to Poverty Point. And I had seen pictures of Poverty Point, and as an archaeologist, had studied a little or read about it. I wouldn't say I really had studied it, but I had the impression from my study that possibly because it's in the Mississippi Delta, that it had been a full circle, and the river had eaten away and left the circle, the semicircle up on the bluff. Well, there's no bluff. The bluff is that there isn't anything like a bluff. Uh, the mound is these six semicircular mounds are 3/4 of a mile across.
Around circumference from the end of there to the end of there is 3/4 of a mile, and that's flat. Those are not higher elevation than those. Those are all in the same flat elevation.
And we'll show that here in a moment, but this gives you a beginning of our Rainbow Eagle's already shown you the standard pictures. I'll just show you a few of mine, but a couple of standard ones as well. But the A is in probably a bird image that has been messed up a little bit over the years. I mean, it had a lot of years of people digging into it. But here you can see that image from the air, and it's well, the wings of the bird are flattened out quite a bit, but there is well, you see the trail around it. You're just well, let me get on to where now there's a pretty good picture that allows you to see from the let's see from the east, you're looking west toward the site, and you can see the six terraces. They built those terraces up approximately 5 feet tall, so they'd be above the floodplain. We're in the Mississippi River Delta here. That huge delta, reaching virtually all the way across Louisiana from north to south, has been flattening out and chewing on this land for millions of years. And just, well, at the end of my slides, we'll get to that in a little bit. But you can see they've allowed the grass to grow on top of the mounds. The site has been plowed, it's been farmed, and so they knocked down the terraces significantly. And yet, to appreciate that it's 3/4 of a mile, um, and then in that middle part, the middle zone here, this is a 43-acre ceremonial zone, which they had to fill and flatten because there are a bunch of holes in it. And so again, it wasn't just a matter of carrying all the dirt for the mound back here, but it's also a matter of bringing enough dirt to fill the holes here and then build the ridges. And then the presumption is that each of the ridges would have had a house every 50 feet or so around that semicircle. You put 50-foot houses every 50 feet, and you see you have room here for hundreds, well, probably more than 1,000 residents in this community.
Paul, can I say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. I believe you said that this picture shows that we are looking to the west.
Yes, we're looking from the east toward the west.
That's right, which means the structure is arranged very much like a lot of the Native American structures, and that is the teepee and things are facing the rising sun.
Absolutely.
Okay, which would make it more of a possibility of a ceremonial place. And even the significant mound there is also in that same pattern of honoring the East. And so I just thought that's pretty neat. I hadn't caught that in any of the presentations. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, thank you for identifying it, because I agree. I think that is significant, and I think it's particularly significant that Mound A, the bird mound back here, is back behind that semicircle and is centered on it. But again, that would be a high point from which ceremonies could be conducted, looking directly toward the sunrise. And significant as sunrise and sunset was, still is. I mean, most of us still admire and appreciate it. It's just I wear a Tahitian shirt that speaks of the new dawning. I like that concept. Let me see if I can adjust that. Um, well, oh boy, I guess I don't know how to adjust that. Anyway, the simple fact that the poverty point people would have had to carry 15.5 million loads at 50 pounds each to be able to construct Mound A
Mm-hmm.
is just phenomenal. But now here are pictures that this is a picture that David took of me up on the mound. And if you could look real closely, you would see that I'm not very big up there at this distance. And I think I was waving my hat to make it so he could see me, but it's a pretty substantial pile of dirt. And to get there, you have, well, they asked for us not to climb on the sides, so I went up the walkway. Here's I was looking back at David, and he was in the car down here along the roadway. But let me point out that there, off to the right over here, is another mound. And this is a smaller mound, but there are three mounds here in line. And then way over here, a mile to the south, is another mound, which is on private property. So we only got a picture of it from a quarter of a mile away. But that one predates Poverty Point by 2,000 years. And so it's quite clear that these people were orienting themselves, I mean, a straight line, orienting themselves to the inheritance of earlier people who had occupied this zone. And to me, well, and that takes us back to 5,500 years BC for that earlier mound. And while it's a smaller mound, nonetheless, for it to be oriented within a mile and therefore in the complex makes it clearly significant. To hike up the Mound A, they have a walkway, and so I utilized it. And here you can see it. It's not a precipitous climb in particular, but there's just an awful lot of dirt underneath it. And those people pulled that in their aprons and in their baskets. Now here you're looking across the central plaza, and you can see the small ridges where the legumes are taller, and so it gives you an image, uh, attempt from the ground level to look across that 43-acre central plaza and look at well, there'd be a house here and 50 feet over another one, 50 feet over another one, and another one, and then back on the next row, the same, and the next row, the same. We're talking about a planned community.
Mm.
A planned community. And who, one of my sociological mentors made the city plan for Lenexa, Kansas, where I lived for a number of years. And so I've had a great deal of admiration for that gentleman, because he was able to plan a community so that it has parks and walkways and places for old people close to the marketplace and other shops. I mean, it's just well designed, a pleasant place to live. Well, here at 1,700 years ago. Oh, no, that's 1,700 years before the time of Christ.
Yep. Yep.
So 3,700 years, almost 4,000 years ago, these people came into this river delta area and began building a planned village here, a planned city. And it's such, well, because in my previous looking at it, I looked at pictures like this, and it's all just one glimpse. When you're standing there, you can't see the whole thing. It's that big. It's a monument. It's worthy of celebration. 1700 BC to 12 or 1100 BC, 500 years, this place was occupied by people who clearly were living in peace. There's no wall of fortification around it. Rainbow Eagle was talking about the people. Um, what was the word he used? The tribal friendships. We like to look back at the tribal peoples of American history and see them warring and killing each other and killing white people. We call them savages. That may very well be a very serious mischaracterization because here is a 500-year demonstration of people living together in peace. I can't emphasize that enough. Um, and these were people who were hunters and fishermen. They call it hunters and gatherers, and I'm going to raise just a bit of a question on that because one of my anthropology professors made what I think is a very good case that we have not just hunters and gatherers, but we have hunters and collectors in our history. And he saw the hunters and gatherers, or those who were nomadic and were um, simply following the herds. But then when you have people who systematically were going back year after year to harvest the fruits and grains and whatever they were going to harvest systematically, they become collectors. And so in his evolutionary model, um, Professor Smith recognized that this might very well be a home for hunters and collectors rather than hunters and gatherers. That's perhaps a technicality that you don't need to dig into, but from an anthropology background, sort of fun. But the fact is that we are here on the Mississippi floodplain, and there's no stone available for them to build with, and so they built with dirt, and they brought stone. Well, to me, one of the intriguing things, I'll get to that here in just a moment. One of the intriguing things was to see that things I found at Nauvoo that belonged in the same period had representation here at the Poverty Point. And here you see plummets. And interesting that some of the plummets are drilled from one side and then the other to meet in the middle. And some are drilled all the way through from one side. And that differentiation is between the plummets that are made of magnetite versus those made of hematite. So these guys are carefully collecting the material from falling stars, we call them, and we're shaping them into net weights so that they could use them to fish effectively. That's sort of neat. And while they didn't have pottery as such, they did form clods of clay and bake them, and then apparently put those in the fire to get hot, and then they could drop them in the skin or basket to cook the food they had in it. And so we have a wide assortment of these shapes of well, there are all kinds of shapes that have molding and some artistic impressions on them. The one over here on the right is simply a palm impression, and then you have a thumb impression in this one. So the idea that they were using clay to cook is it's just a very interesting precursor to the development of the use of clay to make pottery. They weren't making the pottery here yet, but they were using the clay for cooking. And then they're just a fascinating assortment of decorated objects. And again, we're talking primarily about stone that's been carried in. In a few cases, there's clay that's been cooked, but just fascinating small objects, artistic expressions showing that they were an artistically appreciative people. And here, bars and tablets of a reddish stone, just an amazing appreciation of the variety of it. And again, no stone found here in this delta. The stone all had to be brought in. And here's just a sample of the thousands of projectile points they found. And for me, it was just intriguing because at Nauvoo, we had Dongola chert from Tennessee. We had Dover chert from Tennessee. We had the Keokuk chert that was their local. The Burlington chert was their local. And all of four of those were evident in the projectile points that I could see at Poverty Point. Furthermore, we found catlinite at Nauvoo that had come to us from the catlinite mines in Minnesota. They have catlinite at Poverty Point, which makes it 1,500 miles from the source to where it was found. And they found they've made it into bird pendants, and so some of the remarkable decorative strategies are showed there. And then, of course, the birds are something that show up in well, as Rainbow Eagle was referring to. We have these other centers where this artwork is also demonstrated. And so I've asked the Rainbow Eagle to present first, and I've followed up here, but I wanted to open up the discussion for you and ask a few questions. And the first one is, what possible connections between Poverty Point and the Book of Mormon do you perceive? And I see a hand up there. That's David.
Yeah, I have no comment on that question because I'm not sure there is a connection, but that's another debate altogether. I wanted to point out that other mound, large mound, 2,000 years older than Poverty Point, indicates that there was a culture there at that site that was 2,000 years before Poverty Point, and Poverty Point was undoubtedly built on part of that culture, maybe all but one mound of that culture. We don't know, but what they took down mounds to build mounds. Uh, the the idea that we've made a lot of emphasis on Poverty Point, but there's that whole unknown culture predating Poverty Point by 2,000 years that I think is very significant. Thank you.
Well, thank you for highlighting that significance because you're right. Um, However, the soil corings that they've done on the mounds at Poverty Point, I think, have not shown any occupation there contemporary with the other mound that's a mile away. So that's the only that appears to be a more isolated event. Nonetheless, it's only a mile away, so clearly it's in the context where it only makes sense that they were appreciating.
And building on it would disturb it. So finding evidence of a previous culture that's 2,000 years older, there's an awful lot of places we can point to that may be 2,000 years older that we've totally destroyed.
Mhm.
Right.
Paul, I might have a little bit of something to give attention to your question there.
Okay.
In my presentation, in a kind of around the corner way, I really think that there was this disposition of being able to connect and come into relationship even in the midst of diversity. That there was that let's pull together community and have something to present the fact that there can be a peaceful phenomenon take place in the midst of the different systems that I'm sure was present in the North America experience. I like that piece because it gives us hope that these kinds of things, and well, yeah, it's 500 years of pretty good stuff and what it must have taken in order for them to come into relationship. I think it was being able to accept the diversity and still be able to have a way of how you conduct yourself and how you treat each other and how that you can come together in some form of worship or ceremony.
Thank you. And Keith, I say hand up.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Um, I'm interested in the purpose of building the mounds. I've read some articles about the Hopewell mounds in Ohio and New York and up in that area that were used for burial. And wondering if anything like that has been discovered around Poverty Point.
Very little evidence of burial has been found.
I can give attention to that aspect of the Ohio earthworks. I do a pretty extensive presentation on that. Uh, Something similar to Poverty Point is that there were things shared from far away to be brought into the Ohio Valley. Now, about the burials, there was also another summary that can be made is that there were not only articles from a number of different directions, but there was a reason to have persons come and be buried in the Ohio Valley of different traditions. There were different prayer pipes also from different locations. And so it was almost kind of a reminder of coming together. And of course, there's a bigger picture about a time is going to come when that will happen again of coming to Circle Mound out in Newark, Ohio. That time is anticipated. Uh, so yes, there were burials in the mound, but there were also mounds that were just there for observation, to place yourself so that you can see a distance, as well as to kind of signal to another mound some communication needs.
And if you would please, Rainbow Eagle, explain about the significance of the pipe.
Well, the prayer pipe, it's not a peace pipe by a better pronunciation of that or understanding of the prayer pipe. The prayer pipe was helpful in especially the young life of being able to not ever feel alone because the symbolism of placing tobacco, not anything else, into the pipe was representing the various relatives in all the directions, placing that into the pipe, and then the fire of the Creator made a sacred breath of how we all share a common divine breath. And so that was helpful in what could be called a prayerful time, when actually it was also a time to really feel supported by the ancient ones of long ago and now.
Sacred breath.
Yeah.
Beautiful concept. Anyone want to speak about any possible connection you see between Poverty Point and the Book of Mormon? Well, my next question, what distinctions make such a connection improbable? And so I would point out that the story of the Tower of Babel at 2000 BC and the story of the Jaredites 1700 1200 BC versus the 1700 1200 BC of Poverty Point makes a possible link. However, the Jaredite story is the story of people at war, and we don't have, as I read it, any 500-year settlement of peace. You have virtual, well, they specify, I think, 2 million people being wiped out in warfare.
Mm.
And Poverty Point is clearly people of peace. Brother Bryant, your hand is up. Can you unmute? Probably I should have yield to Deb here because she's the one that's good at this.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I want to comment on that 2000 BC Babel date. That Jaredite story is much earlier than 2000 BC. 2000 BC is roughly the time of Abraham, and that was 10 generations after Noah. And the Tower of Babel was just a couple generations afterwards. We don't have any timeline on that in the Bible, but it's the next thing after the flood. So it was pre before 2000 BC.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to consider that the Jaredite story, as I presented before, there were eight of those vessels that the Jaredites used, and only I think only one of them is the source of the Jaredites themselves. I say that because the Jaredite story says that they counted the descendants of Jared and his brother sometime after they arrived in the promised land, and there were only 17 of them. And that's about how many one of those boats would take. So if they had those 8 boats, there were a lot of places that they could have been spread with that Jaredite peoples or the friends of the Jaredite peoples from one end of the northern American continent clear down to the southern end. And you find similar DNA that it connects one end of the American continents to the other. And I think it's probably a Jaredite source. My guess. No proof.
Well, and let me also highlight that in your earlier presentation, you pointed out that Xi'an in China, there are about 8 different cities of Xi'an, is very similar to Zion. And the possibilities of the Jaredites crossing and having people drop out and establish those settlements is something to be considered.
Yeah.
Well, let me go back to question number 2 here on the distinctions that make it improbable. Again, I would highlight that the war tradition among the Jaredites versus what clearly was a peace tradition at Poverty Point is a significant contrast. Then again, above that, the idea that we have hunters and collectors at Poverty Point versus farmers and herders bringing the herds from the Jaredite story. These are potential issues. And then I'm intrigued by where was the mouth of the Mississippi 4,000 years ago. So here's a map that shows the change of the river disposition. The orange is the earliest one that predates Poverty Point. The date on that one was prior to was nearly 5,000 years ago that the river was had its mouth where the orange is now. And notice the Baton Rouge is quite a ways up here, and so today you got the yellow down here deposit, and And then the blue deposit behind that takes us back more than 100 years. Well, the earliest is the orange, and then the reddish over here is the second layer. And by Poverty Point time, we're talking about the green one here. And that takes us, you see, way up the river, quite a ways up in the state of Louisiana. And so the mouth of the Mississippi, or the route of the Mississippi and its mouth at 4,000 years ago, would have been quite a ways north of where it is today. All right, so I think I think that's the last slide. Oh, here, yeah, here's the the dates. The 4,600 for the round one, 4,000, 3,500 for the red one over here, 3,500 and 2,800 is the green one, and so this is the one that would have been contemporary with that's BP. So anyway, I wanted you to see that the changing of the river, but the fact is that huge delta of the Mississippi is a phenomenal natural phenomenon. And whoop, I hope I didn't cut out.
Gotcha.
All right, I just tried to end sharing. So,
Paul, let me comment
all right, please.
that the sedimentary materials deposited by the Mississippi begin at Cairo.
And explain where's Cairo?
Where's
That's
Cairo,
just-
folks?
That's just south of St. Louis.
Illinois.
Yeah,
Southern tip of Illinois.
yeah, southern tip. Thank you, southern tip of Illinois. That's where the sedimentary materials begin to show up, showing that the river was depositing material there at some time.
Okay.
So when you talk about the delta of the Mississippi, you have a lot of material over a long period of time.
Thank you. Floor is open. Questions and comments?
Paul, just a note, Deb has left because her family arrived and they're celebrating her birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Deb.
Even though you can't hear us. Paul, if you don't mind, I'm curious if Brother Rainbow is familiar with the first people of the community of Christ.
I would be happy to give a response to that, Keith.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Not at all. I have a deep, long heritage with what used to be RLDS,
Yeah.
introduced by my mother and really nurtured and facilitated my full-blood Choctaw father in his spiritual growth. And then I served the church as an appointee from 1979 to 1985. So you might say that I have a little bit of a connection with that. I well knew what was really taking place a little before my appointment as well as afterwards. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
How's that for a
you.
short talk?
Yeah, you may have some mutual friends then.
I'm sure we do. Yep.
But to me, it's such a fascinating thing to see a plan say, oh, here, Earl wants to get in.
I never can find out where I guess I got a hand there now. I raised my
Yeah.
hand. Couple of things. You talk about the origin of the stones. They came from 1,000 miles away. How do you know that?
The
I know
Catlin,
that you can do a test of the composition of the various minerals in a stone, but I want to know where it came from.
okay, I spoke of the Catlinite that we found on the cardinal pipe that came to surface in Nauvoo, and the microanalysis of that gave us a 97% probability that it came from the Catlinite mines of western Minnesota.
Hmm.
The the galena, when I asked about that one, indicated that came the chemical composition matches that of the galena in northwest Illinois, southwest Wisconsin.
Yes, most of the prayer pipes uh, have made use of the red pipestone that is in southern Illinois. Uh, so it was a material that could be worked with and kind of hold its shape with a lot of use. But yeah, there's only really one place in Central America where red Catlin pipe stone is found.
I think there were a few stones that were obsidian, which were, and the closest source of obsidian would be the Rocky Mountains.
Right. And of course, Ohio would have flint rock that was useful for other things besides the pipe. Okay.
And Rainbow, if you would please, you were talking about a gathering place, and I think it would be useful for us to reiterate your point about the gathering place with the medicine wheel in Independence.
I knew that would come up, Paul,
Well, here it is.
because it is such a significant uh, 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 presentation that I would rather give the presentation again with more added to that than to try to give a summary about the number of places in America that there's not only a spirit of gathering, but there's also a spirit of where things are going to become prominent. And yes, I give attention to the various Native American references to not just the Independence area, but the land around that.
Well, in that case, since you're deferring on that, demurring on it, let's schedule you in November to come back and give us that review because to me, the Poverty Point expression of it is so intriguing. To me, because 500 years of those people living together with no fortification, no walls, apparently trading all the way up and down the Mississippi, paddling their canoes up and down apparently, and maybe walking. But good heavens, the amount of camaraderie that's demonstrated by that exchange of material speaks to me of people living together in peace.
For sure. And lots of times when you have that, you certainly have travel that has taken place. But once you come into an area and you establish some way of living, then you're pretty much going to stay in that area. So other areas wouldn't necessarily even know that something significant would be taking place in that part of what we call Louisiana.
Paul, I got a question for you.
Sure.
You used the term legumes, as you can see the legumes up on one of the homestead areas.
Yes.
What is a legume?
Oh, wow.
Peas,
Here,
beans,
here's
It's a trick question.
peanuts.
That's a bean. All your bean plants are legumes.
oh, I thought, okay, I misspoke then. I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me. Um, they're not legumes. They may have just simply been weeds.
Yeah, probably, probably.
No,
Well,
it
some weeds are legumes anyway.
you know, it was a grassland,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I didn't see any Timothy, but probably brome, and I think there may have been some clover in there, and so it looked to me like it was hay crop that had been mowed around in order to leave the taller
Mm-hmm.
expressions so people could see them. But thank you for clarifying and correcting me on that.
After working 20 years in legumes.
Well, I am proud of the fact that you were able to do so and help a lot of people eat better because of it.
Yeah.
Well, I face a very um, intense week, and I got to be in Lamoni for a volunteer session at 10 in the morning. We have a busload coming on Tuesday. We have the presentation by Sherry Kirkpatrick and Mareva and Rachel Killebrew on Saturday at 1 on the same link. We have the RV people coming to the big house in Lamoni to build ramps for the school and the house next week. And so all the materials have to be ordered and purchased for those. And so I'm faced with a couple of weeks here that are quite intense. And so if there are no more questions or comments, then yes, all around. And Rainbow is waving. I'm reminded, for some reason, of a song that I think was one of my dad's favorites. For he was not.
Paul, let me interrupt very quickly. Just transportation wise, remember the Arkansas River empties just north of Poverty Point, coming out of the Rocky Mountains. We think of the Mississippi and the Missouri, the Ohio, but the Arkansas River was a major river back then.
And a lot of the dirt they brought down could be used for the mounds, and then next year there'd be a whole lot more of it.
That's right.
Paul, if I might say something.
Please.
Okay. I don't know whether it might be of interest to you all, but I think I have some insight experiences of certainly the late 1970s, and then as an appointee of World Church there, and I was ordained to 70 by Wally B. Smith. But there is something that I feel like is kind of history inside of the changes that were really prominent in those years that all of you have some sense of afterwards with the community of Christ thing. But I would be happy to share what experiences was mine inside the dynamics of probably the most change that the church has ever gone through in the late 1970s on into 6 or 7 years of the 1980s. So I just say that's something that I can kind of bore you with, but I think it's rather insightful what it was for us appointees to realize things are going to change and how that there's going to be such a response from all the various groups of the church at that time. Okay.
Well, we have openings in November, and so if we can pull that one together by then, I would be delighted to have you come back. We can talk about that to get it on the schedule at your convenience. Okay? And thank you for volunteering that. So that wait a minute, that's two presentations though. And we want to keep you spread out so that we have you coming back every month or so. and I do thank you for coming to share with us tonight. I wanted to conclude with the song that was one of my father's favorites. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. He had grown up along Powder River, and the cabin got washed away by the spring flood twice. So then his father moved it up on the terrace farther, and it burned. Um, Frustration, but the idea of being able to plant his feet on higher ground was something that my father appreciated, and to recognize that these circular mounds at Poverty Point were slightly above the floodplain, and with all that vast delta, it would have put the houses above the water drainage, and so there's one of the other benefits of the planning that they did. What an awesome thing for almost 4,000 years ago for people to plan a city. Wilfred Winholtz, my sociology mentor who planned Lenexa, I'm confident would be proud. I wish I could share it with him. But I'm pleased to have a chance to share with you tonight. And um, if there's no other questions or comments, we'll shut off the recording and prepare to get some rest. Thank you, Rainbow Eagle. Thank you all for your participation. May the Lord bless you and keep you and give you good rest.
In my language, we say anak fili kipisa, which means let us think on these things.